Hello everyone and welcome along to the final piece on the Rugby World Cup. The tournament all done and dusted. The All Blacks now 3 times winners and back to back for the first time in rugby history. I'm sure you all know all about the goings on in the final few days of the tournament. But for this final piece of action coming from the tournament, of course, following up from the knocked out 15, the best players from the sides knocked out of the Rugby World Cup. At the pool stage, we now have the team of the tournament. That's right, my best 15 players selected by myself with my own opinions on the players. No media input here whatsoever. This is all my thoughts, my opinions, and my best 15. It's a very tough side to pick. So for this one, we're going to crack right into it, starting off in the front row like we always do. The best 15 coming out of the Rugby World Cup. Now, I've picked these players on their performances throughout the World Cup. Obviously, the best players will come from the teams that progress further. Obviously, they gain a bit of merit, but do not fear. There is 3 players who have kept their spots despite missing out on the playoffs, despite not getting out of their pool, and they are players that were in the knocked out 15 as well. So, interestingly enough, they'll still be there. See if you can notice them throughout the 15. So let's get this underway. The best of the Rugby World Cup. The team of the tournament. So we'll kick things off in the front row with the 2 props and, of course, the hooker. My picks are on the loose head side, Marcos Ihertza, Dane Coles, no real question about those 2, and Herrera, the other Argentinian on the tight head side. They are my 3 in the front row. Ihertza and Herrera, they were the main reason why the Argentinian pack did so well. They are absolute machines. Herrera missed a lot of rugby this season before the World Cup with injury. He's come back all so much better. He is led from the front along with his Argentinian front row partner, and you know, you look through this Argentinian team with the likes of Ihertza leading the way at the front and Herrera as well. When you look what they've come up against, you know, they outplayed a lot of their opposition, and you think they pushed New Zealand in their opening match of the World Cup, and then obviously they took care of Ireland. The main reason behind that win was their front row as well. They really pushed it up against the Wallabies as well, and then had a real good dig at the Springboks in the 3rd, 4th playoff. So those 2 there, the main reason, and how much of a difference did it make having that platform in place for Argentina when they had a backline that actually knew how to go forward, how to finish plays, create plays, make chances of front football. They were big, they were huge in the Rugby World Cup, where Argentina. Ihertza, Herrera, they're my props. Dane Coles, easily the best hooker in world rugby at the moment. His line-out throwing is absolutely supreme. No one can match him there. He just hits his mark every single time. Very few throws went off the mark. He actually hit the most successful line-out throws in the tournament. He is a machine as well. And his set piece has got a lot better. So with 2 props alongside him who scrummaged like beasts, and then you got Dane Coles, you know, the set piece master, a decent scrummager, and an absolute menace around the field as well. With those 3 there, you've got to think of honourable mentions to players like CO and Franks, the 2 sides of the scrum, and Creevy, I thought, was another one who always typically impressed the whole Argentinian front row in the mix there at some point or another. They'll be on my bench though. We'll have a little look at a bench after the 15. Into the 2nd row, and this is the first of my knocked out 15 players making a return, and that goes to the Fijian Nakarawa, who was a machine. He was amazing. His offloading ability, his running through the field, as well as doing his basic jobs right, the likes of the line-out tags as well. He was amazing. And I've got Lud Diega as my other 2nd rower. Now, interesting and very tough to pick this when you got the likes of Ebenezer Beef, Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick, who were amazing. I mean, the All Black 2nd row was phenomenal, especially in the knockout stages. They dominated the Springboks line out, really turned over their ball, and it was the mainstay. And a real big reason for why they won the tournament and dealt with the threats that come against them very, very easily. Diego and Nakarawa, easily, they're my 2 starters with Edsa Beats, Whitelock and Retallick coming off the bench to add impact as well. take your pick of what three from those three you'd put on the bench as well. You got to pick one. It's a beats Wailoka Retallick. That's tough as well. Into my background, this is another really tough one to pick, but I've gone with my second of the knockdown 15 at the blind side. That is Mamuka Gogodza. Now this is a man is a mountain. He is a monster. He is such a strong runner, an inspirational leader. Determination is the key of his performances. Although Georgia didn't, smash any records, they didn't bust through the world, they were just solid, improving, and the main reason is Gogodza. I've got him starting at 6 because I have another man at number 8 who has been probably one of the best players of the tournament. We'll get to him in a second. We got Richie McCaw at 7. No one can really argue that. May have not been the most outstanding number 7 in the tournament, but his leadership and the fact his team, under his vision, under his guide, won the tournament, his composure under pressure, things like that. That's what you want in a leader. And just, he didn't get overwhelmed by occasions. He does his job. The All Blacks easily dealt with the huge threat of the Wallaby back row as well, and I think McCaw was the main reason behind that. He had the plan, he had the play, and he got the job done for the All Blacks. At number 8, of course, no question about this, but it goes to Pocock. Simply one of the greatest players of the tournament. He was absolutely outstanding. His running at the defensive line, his play at the back of the scrums, at the lineouts as well, his mauling upfield, his general roundfield play. He is huge. The man is an absolute beast as well. We got some real monsters in this forward pack for the team of the tournament. What a back row that is. Gogodza, McCaw, and Pocock menacing at the highest level. Those three fantastic. Easy position to fill, really. In the end, I've gone for my substitute to come off the bench. Will be Fardy. I thought he was underrated in how he performed. I think he was such a key part of that Australian back row, and a good reason why they made it all the way to the final. Into the back line now, and this is quite a few hard picks in here. I'd have to say there was quite a few hard ones to call. Now, scrum half, the first of the half pairing I've gone with. Now, this could be an interesting call for some of you if you believe this one or not, but I've gone with Laidlaw, the Scottish scrum half. Now, again, similar reasons to McCaw in his leadership, his composure, the way he directs his team around, not to mention he was phenomenal around the field. His goal kicking was exceptional. He was the main reason Scotland did as well as they did after such a poor Six Nations. They really come out and directed the play very well, and it was mainly down to Laidlaw. Close behind it was just about 50-50 between these two, but I've gone in the end with Gareth Davies. I thought he was instrumental as well to how Wales did after all those injuries, likes of Rhys Webb in his own position. Gareth Davies come in, and in a position that could have really been detrimental to how that team performed if he didn't step up to the level and they had to look elsewhere. It could have really let the team down, but I thought Gareth Davies was fantastic and a big man to come off the bench as well for the scrum half position. Laidlaw, though, takes it by an absolute whisker, I have to say. Very hard call between those two. And at fly half now, and there's not much question about this, but I just have to go with Daniel Carter. So many reasons here. All the pent-up frustration over the last few World Cups for him. Injury after injury after injury. Struggling to rediscover that form that led him to such amazing feats earlier in his career, and to just come back the way he has, just lead the team, the backline from that so crucial number 10 position, not get injured, play fantastically. I mean, this was 2005 Lions tour, reminiscent kind of stuff from Daniel Carter, and there were so many other really key performances from fly halves throughout this tournament that it was really hard. The likes of Pollard I thought was okay. He didn't really push the position too much against Carter, but I thought definitely the likes of Dan Biggar Dan Biggar definitely is right up there. I was tossing up between Biggar and Carter, as well as Nicolas Sanchez. Now, the leading point scorer of the tournament with 97, Sanchez from Argentina, very close to upsetting and putting himself in the number 10 jumper. But you gotta say, Dan Carter, his drop goals, his direction, his territorial kicking, and his running game, which is something we haven't seen too much from him recently, with his injuries and all that sort of rubbish as well. But massive mention to the likes of Dan Biggar and, of course, Nicolas Sanchez, who were phenomenal. I thought Dan Biggar and Gareth Davies together for Wales, that's why they made the quarterfinals. And can you say they should have made it to the semis as well? Very close to doing it and going on to the top 4. Wales were fantastic down to their 9 and 10. No question there either. These are becoming very clear to me now who really impacted this Rugby World Cup. So we'll have a look at the centres before we go out to the outside backs on the back 3. And I think this was probably the toughest 2 positions to pick. No one really stood out and really made the game their own from the centres. But the 2 I've gone with are Ma'anonu and Conrad Smith. Now, you pick one, you pick the other with these 2. I think the work they do together makes, it would be missed if they were alone. Now, that's the thing. You take Ma'anonu, you take Conrad Smith. You lose one, you lose them both. That's why I've picked them both there together. I think Ma'anonu, although didn't have the huge impact in his barnstorming runs, I think his defensive play and his structure, along with Conrad Smith and Daniel Carter, along that back line, really guided that All Black defensive line to know what they're doing, where they're going at the right time. So that's why I've picked those 2 together. Now on my bench, I'm going to go honourable mentions here to the likes of Matt Giteau. Was decent for the Wallabies. His experience was huge for how they progressed. Juan Martin Hernandez, I love him outside Nicolas Sanchez. I think those 2, when they competed for that number 10 jumper, it was 50-50. Form was really the only separator between those 2. But together, I think they gelled very well. And I think that was an absolute masterclass call to put them at 10 and 12, Sanchez and Juan Martin Hernandez. So I'll put him as a bench option in 12. And also, Sonny Bill Williams. Now, I was close to putting Sonny Bill Williams in this team as a starter because his impact was just astronomical. I mean, you cannot explain how big his impact was off the bench time after time. When he comes on fresh, it makes it so easy against tiring bodies for him to get offloads, for him to make half breaks and just put players away. We've seen it all tournament long. Against Argentina, match number 1, Sonny Bill Williams was the difference. Rugby World Cup final, late on against the Wallabies. Who was the difference once again? It was Sonny Bill Williams. No question about it. He was outstanding and, I think he deserves to be in the starting, but we all know his impact is off the bench, where he will definitely start for me off the bench to come on for either Nonu or Conrad Smith. In the outside centre position, I've gone with Bennett from Scotland. Now, Mark Bennett was fantastic, especially against the Wallabies. We've seen just what he can do. That was a mention for him. And Jesse Creel, I think not his best game, but I think the youth in that Springboks backline was starved of the ball, but the little they did get, they made a decent nudge of, and I'm a big fan of Jesse Creel and what he can do, and the options he got given. He made the best of the chance, but he just didn't do enough, I feel, to really get the start in this number 13 jumper. Goes to Conrad Smith. Now, the wingers. This is the big one here, and I'm going to go on the left side. Julian Savea, the leading try scorer from the tournament. 8 tries for him, 2 ahead of second place, which was Milner Scudder. He was huge. Against France, I don't think there was anyone that had played a better match against the French like Julian Savea. He was amazing. Didn't have the best final, but still, over the tournament, he was fantastic. Hard to put down, hard to put away. Always draws multiple defenders, which is his strength, and 8 tries, equaling the most scored in a tournament with Jonah Lomu and, of course, Brian Habana as well. On the other wing, though, the right-hand wing, not going with Milner Scudder on this one. As much a fantastic player he is, I'm going with Santiago Cordero. I guess a few of you could have already guessed that. The amount of times I've gone on about this kid, how amazing he is already, and could be an absolute key part of this Argentinian backline in the future. I think he was brilliant for Argentina, and he's even here. The third most meters made for any team was Cordero, 514. He was fantastic for the Argentinians. His ability to break the line, he's up there for our clean line breaks as well. He is one of the best, but his step, his elusiveness, he's hard to stop. Yeah, there he is, third most line breaks of 13. Amazing. Cordero, I am so excited to see him in the future in Super Rugby and in hopefully another 2 or 3 World Cups. If he can keep his progression up, he could be amazing for the future. And of course, you're going to go with honourable mentions on the wing. There has to be Nehemiah Moscato. I think he was pretty unlucky to miss out, but I'm just a huge fan of the way Cordero plays. Moscato as well, very, very young, and he was number 1 most meters made with 561, a huge amount for Nehemiah Moscato. Also, Adam Ashley Cooper, I thought, had a fantastic tournament, scored a boatload of tries as well. And for the other Wallabies winger, Drew Mitchell, I thought was pretty decent as well for the Wallabies. But all in all, Cordero and Savia, that's about as contrasting as you can get as well. Savia, the monster, he will bulldoze through defenders. And just like Emil Moscato is Cordero, the hot stepper, the dancer, the pretty twinkle feet on the wing. That is what we like to see as well. Contrasting wingers. You cannot defend those two contrasting sorts of players with the same game plan because they are so different. It's a massive asset to have those such different players on each side of the field. Of course, that just leaves one position left in this team of the tournament, and that is fullback, number 15, the big one, the last line of defense. And I am giving this, maybe controversially, but I'm giving it to Goromaru from Japan. My third and final impact from the knocked out 15, Goromaru. Now, where do you go from him? Attacking, he has fantastic flair in his attack. His goal kicking, amazing. Territorial kicking as well, fantastic. But I think something that possibly forgotten about is his defense. This is where he really made up for everything. How many try-saving tackles did he make? Against Scotland, if you recall, on the stroke of the whistle, making that absolute crunching tackle, putting the player into touch as well. He did that numerous times throughout the tournament. His fantastic ability to make the most of an opportunity. He is a great talent, and he's just signed for the Queensland Reds in Super Rugby. I cannot wait to see him in there with the big-time leagues in Super Rugby. I'm excited to see this Japanese side, but Goromaru for the Reds could be amazing as well. What a team this would be if we could actually see it on the field. Again, honourable mentions for fullback Ben Smith. You can't go past Ben Smith. I mean, he was fantastic all through the tournament, solid throughout, second on the most meters made. That just puts him right up there in attacking weapons. Defensively, he was good. Some people say that his indiscretion in the final put him a bit off the list in terms of the number 1 fullback, but you know, someone was always going to get a yellow card in that game. It ended up being Ben Smith. You take a pick, someone was always going to get a card. My other one would be Tukelet, the fullback for Argentina as well. The 5th on the meters made list. He got 433. Another massive attacking weapon that just grew and grew in this tournament. And I mean the likes of Cordero and Tukelet. The top 5 of the most meters made were from New Zealand and Argentina, which is just quite a stat. The first one outside those two countries was DTH Van der Merwe, who only played in his pool matches, which is just amazing. He's another one who's unlucky to miss out throughout the tournament, I think, as well. Van der Merwe was fantastic for Canada. So a lot of players who didn't actually make it out of the pool had a fantastic impact on this team and on the Rugby World Cup. We've really developed some amazing players throughout this tournament. I mean, the Japanese back row, 3 fantastic, or even 4, because they got depth off the bench as well coming in that position. Fantastic players as well for the Japanese side. I mean, you go through the list, the likes Argentina with Moroni and Sakino. You've got the Tim Nano Williams playing for Samoa, who were brilliant as well. But there's not many that really compare in the end to the starting 15. They were fantastic throughout. You know, what more can you say? That is my 15. A quick look through a bench that I'd pick. I'd have Co, Creevy and Franks on my bench as my front row cover. Second row cover, take your pick. Itzebeth, Whitelock or Retallick, any of those three. Fardy coming in for back row cover. Gareth Davies and Dan Bigger for the halves cover. And then your backline player as well. Who would you put there? My pick possibly would be Tukaled or someone like a Milner Scudder as well. But there's plenty of options there. Sonny Bill Williams, another one you'd want to have there. The bench just is not big enough. While Martin Hernandez also could cover fly half if necessary instead of Dan Bigger. But if you're going for performance, you'd have Bigger there. And then you'd have the likes of Tukaled or Ben Smith to cover the wings and fullback. What a team that could be. A world 15, if you like. Where do we ever see a team this good playing international rugby together? A fantastic tournament, a great tournament coming to a close. That is my best of the Rugby World Cup 15 side. Let me know if you agree or disagree, who you'd prefer to see there instead. Players who I've missed out, who you think deserve to be there in this team. Let me know your thoughts. As always, let me know on Twitter or, of course, in the comments below. And we can have a good discussion, make even better slide, possibly. But for now, for today, that is my team for the best of the Rugby World Cup. A fantastic tournament. Such a shame it has concluded. But there's plenty more rugby action to come your way here on the channel, so stick around and stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit that like if you've enjoyed this Best of the World Cup team, and of course subscribe so you don't miss any of the action coming your way in the future. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Hope you've enjoyed all the action over the Rugby World Cup. Thank you all so much. Whether you watched the What the Ruck Happened, the matches of the day, or any general World Cup videos throughout the 6 weeks of the tournament, I thank you all for tuning in and hope you have enjoyed it very much. And I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.